What's up guys, this is Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to discuss the ARK Space Exploration ETF, ARKX, and this is one that just hit the market. So we're going to be discussing briefly what is an ETF and what makes it a good investment, especially for the long term. And we're going to take a look at the ARKX fund specifically, looking at some of the different holdings, what are some companies that could potentially be added to this ETF, and the whole opportunity overall when it comes to the space industry. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's get started. All right guys, so there are three main things to understand when you are investing in an ETF. The first thing is to know exactly what an ETF is. So ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund, and this is essentially investing into a portfolio that someone else put together, a fund manager, for example, like Kathy Wood. So it's a bunch of different stocks that are related to a common theme usually, right? In the case of ARKX, this is space exploration, but there are other ETFs related to semiconductors, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, things like that. So it makes it very easy for an investor to diversify. You don't have to actively manage your own stocks, pick and choose them. Just being aware that they do generally charge an expense ratio. So that is, in this case, 0.75% or so. And that is a fee that is charged for buying into the ETF. That's an annual fee. So, it's generally a small amount. It's not something that should stop you from buying an ETF, but it's just something to be aware of. And you might be aware of mutual funds, but in the case of ETFs, they are a lot more transparent. So you know what exactly is held in these funds. In the case of ARK Invest, their ETFs are updated after market close every single day. The second thing is going to be looking for some sort of track record with the firm that is heading this ETF. In the case of ARK Invest, they have a lot of different ETFs that have been out there for many years. They've been very successful throughout the years. Just in 2020, for example, ARK's main ETF returned about 150% in a single year, which is astronomical. It's not the usual rate of return, but still you can expect some pretty good results with ETFs as long as the companies in them, which is point number 3, is knowing the companies in them to some degree. You want to make sure that those companies in the ETF are pretty decent. They have good long-term prospects, 5 to 10 year outlook. If you are going to be investing in ETFs, generally you do want to be a long-term investor. Make sure those companies have the opportunity to really grow their revenue and their income. Space exploration, for example, is something that is going to continue to grow over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Right now, it is really in its infancy. All right, so as you can see here, guys, ARKX launched March 30th, 2021. And again, this is a long-term minded investment vehicle. This is very actively traded. So again, every day around the closing of the markets, you're going to see that they update this website with their holdings, the fund holdings PDF right here. You can see all the different ones in the fund and whether or not they bought or sold shares of specific companies. And we're going to go through the current list of holdings in just a few moments. But first, let's take a look at how they break down the different companies in this ETF. There are 4 categories, all right? Orbital aerospace companies are companies that launch, make, service, or operate platforms in the orbital space, including satellites and launch vehicles. All right, you have suborbital aerospace companies. Those are companies that launch, make, service, or operate platforms in the suborbital space, but do not reach a velocity needed to maintain orbit around a planet. So for example, this is probably referring to something like a Virgin Galactic. So they are, for example, in space tourism, sending people into space just on the really upper surface of the atmosphere, but they're not going to stay there, right? They're going to come back down. So that's really what they're referring to. They're not going to orbit the planet forever. You have enabling technologies companies, and this is part of the ETF that I think kind of threw people off. But this is companies that develop technologies used by space exploration related companies for successful value add aerospace operations, okay? So that's really referring to technology that kind of enables them to go into space. So you can kind of make a lot of tangents here, like with cloud technology, for example, or robotics or artificial intelligence, right? These are technologies that you would need to, for example, program the software that allows you to send satellites into space and monitor them, and etc. Right? And you also have 3D printing. If I didn't mention that already, you have materials and energy storage. Okay, so a lot of the holdings in the ETF are actually not directly space companies, right? You're going to see, for example, just as a sneak peek before we get into it, really, you're going to see that even Alphabet, for example, is in this ETF. And Alibaba, right, which is mainly known for its e-commerce business, is in this ETF. So we actually are getting quite a diverse group of names here. And lastly, the fourth category in this ETF is aerospace beneficiary companies. And these are companies whose operations stand to benefit from aerospace activities, including agriculture, internet access, GPS, construction, drones, etc. All right, so we're going to jump right into some of those holdings now. And the number one holding in this ETF is not Virgin Galactic, which a lot of people thought, or some of the SPAC-related names that we'll also get into. But when it comes to Trimble, this is a company that is actually more of a software company. It's kind of the latter category, I feel, the one with aerospace beneficiaries, because when you have more developed satellites and stuff in space, that's going to help Trimble, which is a very big play on construction and agriculture and transportation systems that is obviously going to benefit from this technology. And you can see right here that Trimble brings scope and scale to its markets, right? This is a company where it provides services for geospatial, so like mapping, GPS type of things. When it comes to agriculture, for example, that is another big thing with the weather and monitoring systems that are used in space. So this company is obviously going to benefit as space exploration develops, right? And they are obviously, investing a lot of money into that themselves. And if you just throw up the stock chart for Trimble, you're going to see that over the past year, this has been a very consistent stock. And if you take a look at the 5-year view, you'll see that this, again, is a stock that has done quite well over time and produced really good gains. So has a pretty good track record, going from $25 to here today, it's around a $76 stock, $19 billion market cap. So you're getting some very hefty companies here for sure. Very strong revenue, and the future looks very bright. So in terms of other stocks on this list, you have the 3D printing ETF, you have Kratos Defense and Security, L3 Harris Technologies, JD.com even. Again, that's more of a cloud play. Komatsu, Lockheed Martin, right? So you have even a really big defense company. You have Boeing as well, right? Again, national security, even, just travel in general, play on that. NVIDIA, Spirit Aerosystems. So those are like really the sub parts makers when it comes to airplanes. All the way down at number 20 in this ETF's holdings is space stock, and that's only 2% of the entire ETF. So it's actually not a big one. And really, that's probably reflecting Cathie Wood being conservative and understanding the fact that at the end of the day, Virgin Galactic is a company that has zero revenues right now, and it's quite a large bet. And it's going to take a lot of time before that company really recognizes any revenue. So it's pretty prudent on her part, in my opinion. Now, you can go through all of these holdings on your own as well. But again, generally speaking, these are very solid large cap companies with a lot of revenue and business already, at least the top 10, top 15 or so, and a very diverse group of names, surprisingly. Now, there is a potential that she will add different companies' stock in the future, right? So they already have Virgin Galactic stock in there. Now, there is another stock that is getting quite a lot of attention in this space as well. That is the SPAC Stable Road Acquisition Corporation, SRAC. And this is a SPAC that's bringing momentous to the market. And you can see right here, this is a space company that has been called the FedEx of space, referred to as a zero-gravity logistics play. The company has a deal in place with SpaceX and plans to launch satellites as a service in the future. The company forecasts annual revenue to hit $1 billion by 2024. So definitely very interesting there. You have other companies that are going public through SPACs, such as New Providence Acquisition Corp is bringing AST to the market, and this is a company that is focusing on 5G from space. They're launching many satellites as well. So these companies would definitely meet those fund objectives, right? Especially the first category, again, orbital aerospace companies. So if you wanted to potentially invest in stocks that could make its way through to this ETF someday, this could be interesting as an investment for you in some of these names. And lastly, I'll touch upon Rocket Lab. This is a company merging with Vector Acquisition Corp. And this is the second most frequently used US orbital rocket company, trailing only SpaceX. Very impressive. Overall, this is a very interesting ETF, the ARKX ETF. And, moving forward, just to kind of wrap this up here, you could see, according to Morgan Stanley's estimates, the global space economy is projected to be $1 trillion or more by 2040. And that's up from $350 billion currently. And that includes things like, once again, satellite services, radio, you can see here, satellite manufacturing, Earth observation services, satellite launching. So the demand for these companies' products and services is only going to grow massively in the future going forward. If you do believe in this long term, I would definitely say you should consider investing in ARKX. All right, guys, that's it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed. And if you are interested, by the way, StockDads does offer a premium Discord. So if you do want to invest with other like-minded people, and people such as myself, we have everything from a really expansive video library, book library. We have discussions, live coaching, and of course, stock and options alerts, and much more. So if you're interested, make sure to check out the link in the description down below. And if you use the code on the screen here, Chris C, you can get a 15% off discount on all payments that you have to make with your membership over the course of its lifetime. So really good discount right there. So be sure to take advantage of that. I will see you guys in the next video. Stay well. Peace.